Previously on Dremmy's channel. The fact that they show you like the next episode at the end also is really good because the next episode looks really fun. I probably will watch it tonight though because it looks really fun. Now back to our regularly scheduled programming. Hello YouTube and welcome to another episode of I Just Keep Talking Until I Run Out of Things to Talk About. My name is Dremmy Echandia. If you've never seen my face before, I basically just make videos about whatever's on my mind week after week. And on my last video, I mentioned that I would react to the, well, not newest, but the next episode of Doctor Who, which was Lux. I only watched the first one before, so I've only reacted to the first episode of the season, which was Robot Revolution. And so today I thought I would react to Lux. Started. Oh, what's that? What's that, you ask? Is that my name? You can't even tell, but on the A it has a little witch hat. And yes, it is Wicked themed. My wonderful husband got me this name placard for my channel because he's amazing. Isn't it cool? Let's see how much it lasts. That's a challenge for you guys. Whenever it does fall off, let me know. Like, yell at me. If you don't yell at me and it falls and I don't notice, it's on you. So it's your fault. Just saying, you don't want to have fault here. Like I did in my last video, I think I'll do like a little general reaction and then I'll do like a spoily part. Just because I don't want to spoil it for you guys, but also there are a lot of things that I want to react to that aren't exactly like spoiling, but if you're like still thinking about watching the show and kind of want to know about it, then I kind of want to tell you about it. So like I said, this episode is called Lux. It's the second episode of the second season, and it's set in 1950s Miami, Florida. There it goes. Okay, we're back in business. So this episode, like I said, was called Lux, and it was set in 1950s Miami, Florida. And it's basically the Doctor and Belinda trying to get back to March 27th, I think it was, 2025, and not being able to. They keep being repelled from that date for some reason. So they take a detour, of course they do, and they land in, like I said, 1950s Miami, Florida. I mentioned it in the last video. I really like how Belinda is very like strong-willed and like she has a head on her shoulders in the way that the Doctor says, hey, we landed somewhere that we're not supposed to be. And she's like, okay, then let's land somewhere closer, you know? But she isn't like too annoying about it, you know? It isn't like a constant thing of like, take me home, take me home. And he's like dragging her around and she's like, take me home, take me home. Like she's willing to have an adventure, which is really cool because the Doctor does mention, hey, it's 1950s outside. And she's like, what? What do you mean it's 1950s? He's like, yeah, it's 1950 outside. But I'll go like work on it and you stay here. She's like, no. I'm having an adventure. If I have to do this, I have to do this. So I really like that about her. She's like open to adventure, but she's not like pushy about it. And she's not pushy about going home. Well, she is kind of pushy about going home. But it's out of concern for like her parents and her job and stuff. So it's understandable, I think. I love the aesthetic. I'm a very big 1950s aesthetic girly. I love the 1950s music. I like the 1950s fashion. I'll see if I find pictures of me dressed in the 1950s. I don't love, the politics of it, which they mentioned in this episode. They were very worried because, well, the Doctor's worried at first and then Belinda kind of gets it because they're, colored. The Doctor's black and she's, I believe, Indian. I have to guess because of her last name. But they're not white, basically. And the Doctor gets it from the get-go because he's traveled everywhere and he's lived through multiple cultures and multiple times, so he understands. And Belinda's like, no, this isn't right, which it isn't. I agree, but also you're you're stuck in the 1950s. Like, you kind of have to adapt to whatever's going on there. I mean, I even told my husband when we were watching it, I was like, I mean, what changes later on, although it could still get a little bit better, but right now it is like this, so you have to go with it. You can't like ruffle feathers in this time, and then later on it changes, it gets better. So yeah, anyway, moving on. Moving on from civil rights. So this episode is set in a theater, like a movie theater, and it is basically, I'll tell you like the plot that's given away in the trailer. Basically, they go to a cinema where the people had been watching a movie and then they disappeared from the movie theater. So when they land outside the movie theater, like the TARDIS lands right outside the movie theater, they see the doors are chained up, and they think that's weird because even though it's 4 a.m, you don't usually chain up a cinema when you close it, So they go investigate, and there's flowers outside, like as if someone died. So they go to a diner right in front, and the guy in the diner lets them know that it's been like 3 months since it closed. So, that already piques the Doctor's interest. The reason they leave the TARDIS in the first place is because the Doctor has like a machine, as he always does, like a tool to like triangulate, I guess, the vortex or something to see why they're being like jumped away from the date they're trying to go to. The Doctor at this point already believes that it's because something has happened on that date, like something happened with the planet Earth, so they're not able to go back. Water break. Hydrate, guys. And so that's why they like leave the TARDIS to kind of put that machine there. And I kind of like the way that they like showcase that Belinda's ready for adventure, because he's like, okay, the machine's done. And she's like, okay, so now we can go home. And he's like, I mean, we could. And she's like, yeah, so let's go home. And he's like, she's like, you want to investigate the cinema? And he's like, yeah, kind of. And she's like, okay, let's go. I like her attitude. But yeah, anyway, the diner. I won't talk too much more about that. Just that's where they got the information, and then they went to the cinema. In the trailer, you do see like the little like cartoon fellow, which I'll talk about more in the spoily section, because it is like a huge part of the storyline that's going on with Ncuti's Doctor. If you haven't kept up with it, you have to watch the first season to understand who this would be. Which I know it's kind of annoying to some people that you have to watch things beforehand, but it is like the second season, so I guess it makes sense that they're continuing a story, which they've done 1,000 times before. Like, it feels like each Doctor has had like a big mystery, like a big thing just like hanging over them, So this is obviously Ncuti. And honestly, they showed us like the past iterations, and I have forgotten one of them. Like, it won't make sense if you haven't watched it, but I completely forgot the dog. They showed it, and I was like, oh yeah, the dog is there. Other than that, though, the episode in its whole, I feel like I would give it like an 8.5 out of 10. It was a really good episode. I really liked it. The ending was kind of like weird for me. I don't know. I feel like it was like either rushed or like, I don't know. It was probably shot as it was intended. I just didn't like how it ended, I just didn't like how it was resolved, basically. Also, I have to talk about the looks. I loved Belinda's dress and her hair and her makeup. She looked great. I also loved the Doctor's hair and his outfit. I liked the whole look, obviously, but I loved the bow tie. It was a slight callback to Matt Smith. So yeah, I thought I would talk about that as well. The waiter in the diner was a little cringy to me, but I feel like that's the point. He's like a blue-eyed American boy, and his first job at the diner, It's a little too like 1950s teen, I don't know don't know if it was just me or if he was like a little, or if he was just like overacting a little. But he was good, just like a little cringy. And I found out while we were watching that the cartoon like man, the little antagonist in the episode, is voiced by Alan Cumming, which I love. And I feel like I knew that before I saw the episode, and then my husband told me, and I was like, what? And then I was like, oh no, wait, I already knew that. But I love Alan Cumming, and I got really excited about it, and he was incredible in the episode because of course he was. Anyways, without further ado, I think I'll talk about the actual episode now. So there might be spoilers ahead, just letting you guys know. But yeah, let's get to the reaction. So like I said, they land in Miami, Florida in 1950s outside the cinema. And they notice that it's locked up and that's weird. And then they go to the diner to talk to the guy. I don't know his name. Irrelevant. And he tells them, yeah, it's been locked up for 3 months. And no one's known why and where the people that were inside have gone. And so he tells them, I don't have a lot of information, but there's a lady over there that has some information. And so the lady over there, I forgot her name, but I'll look it up. She's the mom of one of the victims, Tommy Lee, who was in the movie theaters by himself watching the movie when he disappeared. And she basically tells them everything that she can. And it was a nice like touch. Well, not nice, because obviously it's like a harsh time for people of color and women too, and gay people. So but the woman's like, yeah, I can talk to them if you don't have a problem with it, to like the boy in the diner. And he's like, I don't have a problem with it, I won't tell anybody. And Belinda's like, what are they talking about? And the doctor's like, well, we're people of color and it's the 1950s and this is a segregated diner, we're not supposed to be in here. And so I thought that was like a nice way of like incorporating the fact that they're not breaking the rules of the universe or like the world that they're in. They're calling out the fact that they're gonna have difficulties because of how they look and who they are in this time. So I like that that makes it like more real, I guess. And so they went to talk to the mom, and the mom tells them basically the same thing. He's been gone for 3 months, he loves movies, and he was by himself basically. Anyway, they decide to go into the cinema to investigate, and they go through a back door because it's chained up, obviously. He didn't want to, I'm pretty sure he didn't want to like unlock it just in case something was being trapped in there. He didn't want to let it out, so he figured he would just go through like a back door. And they went in, and a movie was playing, but obviously there was no one in the audience, so the cinema was still running. And the mom told them about the worker who was stuck in there, which I'm pretty sure she assumed was also like disappeared. But when they went in, the movies were playing, so they were like, hey, Mr. I forgot his name again. Listen, I'm not good with names. I need to rewatch and get like all the names down, but I'll like add them here. But they were like, hey, what are you doing? Like, can you come down here to talk to us or whatever? And he's like, what are you doing in here? Like, get out. But they can't hear him because obviously he's up in the camera room or whatever it's called. And they meet the little cartoon guy. He's called Mr. Ring-a-Ding. That's obviously not the name of the actual villain. I'm pretty sure the actual villain is just called Lux, but he is taking the form of Mr. Ring-a-Ding. And so Mr. Ring-a-Ding, they already showed you in the beginning, the people that were watching the movie were watching like a Mr. Ring-a-Ding short. Mr. Ring-a-Ding was basically like one of those shorts that they do before the movie, or at least I think he was, because there were people there who I feel like weren't gonna go watch a Mr. Ring-a-Ding movie. You know, I think he was just like the short beforehand, like the Get Your Snacks songs, you know, which I didn't even mention in the beginning. When the people were watching the movie, there was like moonlight that reflected off a spoon that reflected off a screw that reflected into the camera, and that's how Mr. Ringading came to life. And I was like, no. No. I call BS. Anyway, that was just like stupid to me. But anyway, he's alive now, and they meet him, and he tells them like, oh yeah, I'm Mr. Ringading. They're like, where are the people? Why are you here? How are you alive? They think he's a hologram at first, but he's not. He's like, I guess he's a being of light, basically, but like he isn't being projected there. He is like an actual like being. He's just made of light. Sure. And so the doctor asks him like, who are you? What do you want? And that's where he reveals that he's one of the Pantheon of Discord, which is, we've already seen 3 of them before, which is the ones they showed that I forgot about the dog. So there's been the Toy Maker, which was Neil Patrick Harris. There was Maestro. Neil Patrick Harris was like games. Maestro was like music. Maestro was played by Jinx. And the dog, honestly, like I said, I forgot all about, so I'm not really sure what he was about. I think he was like death or something. I don't know. I have to rewatch that episode. But this is Lux, and the Lux is the god of light. Obviously, because he's like a being of light. And so he kind of plays with the doctor. And he's like, because obviously the doctor asks him, how do we defeat you? And first of all, Belinda goes like, do you think he's just going to tell you? And he said, and the doctor says, yeah, that's the rules of the game. They have to tell me how to beat them. And so the Lux basically just tells him like a riddle, like what can't I do, or what am I not doing? And he's like, that's not an answer. That's like a riddle. That's not gonna help me. And he's like, I'm gonna have to figure it out. Which, I mean, fair. Why would? Anyway, it has been pointed out that he laughed kind of like the Toy Maker and Maestro. He went ha 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 ha. I didn't notice, but he did, so props to my husband. And I thought that was a really cool detail. If you as a fan don't remember who these are, maybe that would have like clued you in. But he does say Humdinger, like he changes the letters on the like Cineplex like banner to say like Humdinger, and which honestly for the audience because they wouldn't see it, they're inside. But yeah, moving on. Lex basically shows them that he just wants light. He wants to be surrounded by light basically, and he wants to become real. And he shows like the atomic bomb, because they were showing that movie before he came into the screen for the audience, and he said, that's light and I want all the light. And the doctor's like, so you just want to become real, but you would put everyone in danger, which is basically every villain. But anyway, they notice that the guy upstairs is still there because he plays the Mr. Ringading movie. And so I guess Lux is tied to that movie. So he starts dancing along to the movie because he's not able to not dance along. And so they go up to the screening room, and I think that's what it's called, the screening room. And they talk to him, and they try to plead with him, and they're like, come on, we just need to like kill him in some way. If you have any idea how we can get rid of him. And the camera guy, called Mr. Pie, I looked it up, sorry guys. Mr. Pie tells them that he doesn't want to get rid of him because Lux made his wife come back. So he had lost his wife, and he basically made a movie. Like he took an old movie that Mr. Pie had filmed of his wife and made her tangible, kind of like Lux was. He was like a real entity. And so he made Mrs. Pie real to Mr. Pie, and he wasn't ready to let that go, which broke my heart. I feel like I understood where he was coming from. Not saying he was doing the right thing, but I understood like the heartache and not wanting to let go. And so, and finally meeting someone who could relieve the heartache, you know? So he was basically a slave to Lux because of that. And I don't even know how he was alive for 3 months without eating, but moving on. He basically tells them now that he's not going to help. But they discover that in the film reels that he has in the room, there's a film reel with 15 slots, which is holding the 15 people that were in the cinema in the first scene. So they're trapped in the film. And I thought that was really clever, obviously, because it goes with like the theming, but there's like no actual way of letting them go, because they can't really like play the film and liberate them. That's not how that works. But they also can't burn the film because they might kill them. So that's obviously like not the solution. But they present it to you as like, this is where they are, and this is not the problem. But the music stops and they notice, and which means that Lux is on his way up to get them. And he makes it up there, and he's like, and he asks like Mr. Pie, like, are you helping them? Do you want Mrs. Pie to die? I'll burn her. And that's where they establish that like film burns. And honestly, what happens next is like a really cool shot for me. Like the whole second act of this episode I thought was really cool. So basically what happens is that Lux traps the doctor and Belinda in a film, just like the rest of the audience. And they go 2D, basically. Like I said, they're trapped in the film. So at first they're like 2D characters, and they're very Scooby-Doo-ish, which was funny because they called themselves like the Scooby-Doo gang. The doctor said he was Velma, and Belinda was Fred, which I don't agree with that. Because Fred is a himbo and Belinda's smart. But they get trapped in a Scooby-Doo-esque cartoon, and then the way they become untrapped is by acquiring depth. So like they're two-dimensional characters, but as they like talk about like their feelings and like getting a backstory, essentially they become more three-dimensional characters, because that's how you care about people in an episode. And so they become fully like live action again, basically. And they kind of pop out of the like scenario that we're in. And the way that they think to get out is by like making the film run. And so, like I said, I thought it was really cool. They take the edge of your like TV and they kind of like pull it down and keep going so the film starts running. And they make it all the way, so they make it all the way back, but it's like a trick. And so they're back in the movie theater, and a police officer comes with the mom of Tommy Lee, which her name is, I will tell you right now, Mrs. Lowenstein. So Mrs. Lowenstein comes with a police officer, and they're like, you can't be in here. This is a segregated movie theater, and you're black. And Belinda starts freaking out immediately. She's like, no, you don't understand, or whatever. And I was already ready to attack Mrs. Lowenstein. I was like, wow. I thought we were friends. But the doctor immediately notices that it's a trick, because the police officer is dressed in NYPD clothes, and they're in Miami, Florida. So he's like, continuity error. I like that they're talking in like film terms, kind of like the music one they were talking about with Maestro. They were talking about in music terms. And I'm guessing the Toy Maker 2 and the dog too. But like I said, I barely remember them. I have to watch them again. But I thought that was really cool. And so they kind of do the whole like movie thing again, where they grab the corner of your TV. And he figures that in order to get out, they can't go forward, because the movie will just keep running and they'll still be trapped inside. They have to go out. So they break the fourth wall, and they push on your like TV screen and break it. And then this part is really hilarious, because they go out of the TV and they crawl into the house of a Doctor Who fan. And so she's sitting there with her friends watching the Doctor Who episode, and she's like freaking out because she's a fan. And it's really funny because it's like I thought it was cool that they incorporated the fandom in the episode, and they kind of make fun of the fans because one of them's like a real like big fan and she likes everything, and then there's another one who's looking for like all the like continuity errors or plot holes, and then there's one that's just like a hater and she just hates everything about it. And so I feel like that's like the fandom encompassed in 3 people. And it was really funny because they were wearing like merch, and they were like, you could see like the merch in the walls, and they were drinking out of like Doctor Who coffee mugs, and they had t-shirts on, and one of them had the scarf that I was wearing, well, like a version of it, and it was really funny. And so they basically talk, and they're like, so I'm not real? Like I'm a character? And Belinda's like, no, but I'm real because I have memories, and I remember my parents and whatever. And they're like, I'm just a fan of Doctor Who. And they started like talking, and it was really funny because they asked them like, out of all the episodes, what's your favorite episode? And no hesitation, they all say Blink, which I agree with. Blink is the best episode. And he's like, but I did this. And I was like, nope, still Blink. It was like, but I did this. I've done this. And they're like, nope, still Blink. Sorry. Blink is a really good episode. So they keep talking and they become friends and stuff. And that's when the like Doctor Who fans, I guess like feel guilty. And so they say, I'm really sorry about this, but we're not real. You're still in the movie. And so that was very like Inception to me. I was like, when this is still like the movie. Like I was pretty sure this was it. But they have to go back into the movie basically, and well, not go back in. They're already inside. But it kind of got sad because the fans were like, we're not real. We're like first name characters that don't really have depth, so you don't really care about them. I do care about you. I do care about you guys. But they're like, yeah, you have to go back. You have to keep going because they're fake, but they're still like Doctor Who fans. Like that's their personality. And so they broke out of the like programming, I guess, and they have to help the Doctor because they're Doctor Who fans. And so they're ready to like leave, and they get like really emotional, and then Belinda's like, what's going on? And he's like, well, as soon as we like leave, he being the Doctor, as soon as we leave, they're not gonna exist anymore because they're only here for us. And Belinda gets emotional and she's like, no, but like, what do you mean? They're real. I see them. And he's like, yeah, it's a movie. I don't know how else to like tell you. But basically one of the fans called Lizzie, she's the one that like turns the film again. She's like, you have to go. And so they keep going, and the way that they get out is that they figure that the only way to get a movie to stop is to burn it, because then there won't be a movie. And so they kind of like hold on to like both ends of your TV screen, like the top and the bottom, and they kind of hold it so the film doesn't move, so that it burns through. Somehow that worked. The Doctor even gets a little burned, and my husband was like not about it because he uses like his bi-generation, because it's not regeneration anymore, it's bi-generation, since he's like a copy. That's all things that they showed in a previous episode, to like repair his hand that's now burned, which is important because Lux sees this, and he sees that the Doctor is basically light, since he has bi-generation energy inside him. And so he repairs his skin, and then Lux sees him, and he says, okay, so you're all I need then. So he like traps him with like film and drags him all the way up to the screening room, or like right in front of the screening room where it would project the movie. And so somehow through the projection, like projecting through the Doctor works, but he kind of like steals his like bi-generation energy, and he starts slowly becoming real, and he's terrifying, guys. Like the real person, like he becomes 3D and then he kind of becomes like live action, and that shit is terrifying. It's so nasty. I'll show you here, but like a trigger warning, I guess. Not a trigger warning, but like jump scare. But he's horrifying, and so Belinda runs away because he needs to help the doctor, and she runs all the way up to see how she can help. Lux at this point let the doctor know what he was missing, because he kept saying, what am I not doing? Like, what am I not doing? That's the answer to the riddle. And basically what he wasn't doing was going outside, because he can't go outside. He's trapped in here because he's like a movie. He can only go outside if he becomes real, and that's why he needs the doctor to pass his bi-generation energy onto him, I guess. And so Belinda runs up and she's like, how can I help you? How can I help you? And he's like, remember that film burns. And so she goes to like the back where all like the film is held, basically, and kind of makes a pile of film to like light on fire to kind of like basically blow up the movie theater, because if the movie theater doesn't exist, then the Lux doesn't exist. And so she does that, and she goes up to the screening room to where Mr. Pie is, and he's still like, I don't want to let go of my wife. And she's like, I understand that, but you need to let go because this is endangering more people than just you and me, you know? And with the power of like the doctor, he could destroy the world. They go back and forth for a bit, and Mr. Pie's like fake wife, like the light version of the wife, appears, and she gives him like the matches, and she's like, find me, kind of being like, you need to let me go, but at the same time kind of telling him to kill himself, which is messed up. Just pass by that. But he opens the door, and Belinda's like, give me the matches, and he's like, no, just leave and I'll handle it. So he was like ready to go down with the ship, basically. So Belinda runs back to the doctor, and the doctor's passed out. Like he's gone. And Mr. Pie just starts like burning the film, which blows up conveniently where the doctor is. And so the doctor falls, and at this point the Lux is already like live action, basically, and terrifying again, like I said. But the hole in the wall now is letting sunlight in because it's daytime now. It's no longer 4 a.m. So there's sun outside, and like he said, he's never gone outside, and he needs light, and so he gets sunlight. And this is the part where I was a little iffy, because now he gets sunlight, so he keeps growing and growing and growing and growing, but he's back to like his cartoon self because he doesn't have like the doctor's like energy. So he's just like light projection, just like bigger and bigger and bigger, and he keeps growing and growing and growing and growing until he like disappears into the universe. And so he, like Belinda said, he becomes basically a god. And I don't know, I was like, okay, I guess that's the way to solve it. But since he is gone, all 15 people are released from the film reel, and so the doctor opens the door, and they all come out, and Mrs. Lowenstein is still in the diner because I guess she hangs out there all the time, and she sees Tommy Lee, which is her son. That's a really cute reunion. But then Mrs. Flood shows up. Remember her? Remember Mrs. Flood? She shows up, and she tells Tommy and his mom to look at the show over there, which is just the TARDIS leaving. And she's like, don't miss the show. Don't miss the ending, May 25th, which I guess is the date of the last episode, if I had to guess. But what are you doing? Who are you? At this point, she's either like, she has to be one of the like gods. She has to be one of the like chaos gods, or she's like an old character. A lot of people are saying that she's like Susan. Susan is the doctor's granddaughter, or the doctor's daughter, or like an old companion. But I feel like an old companion would not have this much power. She could also be the master, I guess, like mistress again. need to know who Mrs. Flood is. I'm losing my mind. I really am losing my mind. But yeah, that's where the episode ends, and then at the end you get like a little after, like before credits scene, before, like during credits. I don't remember, but they show basically the 3 like Doctor Who fans, and they're like reacting to the episode. They're like, I give it an 8 out of 10, and he's like, which I didn't understand. One of the male fan is like, but it's not cartoons becoming real boys, it's puppets becoming real boys, which is a weak argument. What do you mean? Anything can become a real boy. But then they kind of look at each other and they're like, we're alive, which was kind of cool. It was a kind of a cool way to like end the episode, because they were fake, but they had become friends. So that was nice. And yeah, that's where the episode ends. Like I said, I give it like an 8.5 out of 10. It's definitely my favorite episode this season so far, which is not a high bar because it's only the 2nd episode. I haven't watched the 3rd one yet, but I will at some point. I promise I'll watch it tonight, because I didn't do that last time. I'm watching too many things at the same time. But I will definitely watch it, obviously, before next week, so I can make this video for you guys. And what I liked about the episode, I liked the concept. I liked like the problem solving. I liked the film reel that had to keep going. That was really cool for me. And I liked the characters. I liked the villain. I like Lux, even though he was terrifying at the end. It's also Alan Cumming, so that could be playing a part in it. I like that it was a mystery. It kind of reminded me of more like David Tennant, Matt Smith episodes, where they had to like solve a mystery basically. And like I said in the last video, it also reminded me of the 1950s episode with David Tennant and Rose Tyler. That one was about TVs, and this one was about movies, obviously. And pretty sure that it was an alien race on that one, and this is like a god. But it really reminded me of that, and I liked it. I really liked it. Something I didn't like I said, was the ending. I don't know. It was a weak ending to me. Like he just like disappeared into the stars, basically. Which I guess was a conclusive ending, but it wasn't like satisfying to me, I guess. And I like that Belinda's more open to adventure now. Obviously, she's still hoping to go back home. She hasn't like forgotten about that, but she is like not being like annoying about going back home. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how to explain it. Like I said, I like the Belinda character. I was gonna say this episode reinforced what I said the last time, where I feel like they're more partners in this than just someone following the Doctor. Like in this episode, I really felt like Belinda was part of a team with the Doctor. Like they were partners, they were equal partners in this, because he would ask questions and she would try to solve the problem without the Doctor, and or before the Doctor, not without him. And I really like that. The Doctor obviously is still protective over her, because he's always protective over his companions. But Belinda was really standing on her own most of the time. So I really like that relationship that they're creating, that dynamic. So I really like that. Because like with Ruby Sunday, they were kind of like besties, but it kind of felt like they were just hanging out, and then something happened and they had to like fix that real quick so they could keep hanging out. I'm not saying I hated Ruby Sunday though, because she had really good episodes. Like the 73 Yards episode was really good, and The Legend of Ruby Sunday is also good. I'm still tweaking about Rogue, because the Doctor is not looking for his boyfriend. It makes me angry because he's waiting. Go get Jonathan Groff. What are you waiting for? So like Ruby Sunday wasn't terrible. I just didn't. I don't know. I just felt like the dynamic was a bit forced between them. But I like the chemistry between Belinda and the Doctor is really good to me. Like in my opinion. Obviously it's not like a romantic chemistry, which I appreciate. They don't need to focus on romance for me. But they probably will at some point. let's face it, it's the Doctor. So at some point there will be romance. Probably not between them though, because he's gay. The Doctor is sexual. Like he loves anything that moves. Like he finds a connection with anything. Yeah, I'm going off on a tangent again. I highly recommend watching this new season. It's really good so far, in my opinion. Although I'm pretty sure there's Doctor Who fans who will disagree, but that's just what being a fan of anything is at this point, right? Thank you for tuning in to my video this week. I hope you liked it. If you did, please remember to like and subscribe. If any of you watching are not Doctor Who fans, I do apologize. I promise as soon as the season is over, I will talk about other stuff in my videos, but kind of want to react to these for now. And then I'll go back to my normal video content, which is not normal. There's no line that connects any of my videos. But I'll come back to normal videos soon. The next episode is called The Well, and I'll react to it next Sunday. There will probably be another episode that I have to react to. But I will see you guys then, and I'll let you know what I think. Again, if you agree or disagree, or if you have anything to like discuss with me about, please do so in the comments. Like I said, I love talking about Doctor Who, and I like finding friends who like Doctor Who. So please feel free to tell me anything you thought about the episode down in the comments. Please be nice. There's no need to be rude. I'm just here yapping away. Obviously, we don't have to agree. But yeah, see you next week, guys. Thank you for watching. Bye.